everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today we're going to be making another batch of really strong wax melts. Now you've seen a couple other videos where I've done this before, but I've had a few requests from my patrons to share a written tutorial and a recipe onto the Patreon campaign. Now I'll be very transparent in this video like I am in my other wax melt videos, but if you're interested also in the written tutorial and recipe, head on over to my Patreon campaign. You can unlock that post for just a $5 pledge. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and weigh out my wax. Now wax choice is really important when you're making wax melts. You cannot use wax that you would use for containers. I get that question quite a lot. So for instance, I have some container soy wax over here sitting off to the side. You could technically pour the soy wax into these little clamshell containers that we use for wax melts, but they're hard to get out of the container, and you probably have to pop them in the freezer to get your little wax chunks out. And I'm not sure if container wax or real soft soy wax would be able to hold the amount of fragrance that you need. So wax choice is super important because you need your wax tarts to pop out of those little clamshells. I like to use a wax called Pillar of Bliss wax, and you can find this wax at Nature's Garden. It's a paraffin and soy blend. It's actually a bit more soy wax than it is paraffin. So we use this because it's a harder type wax and it can hold a fragrance load that I like to use in my wax melts. So we just need to go ahead and weigh out our wax. I'm gonna weigh it directly into my little melt pot here. A lot of times people will ask me too, where did you get those melt pots? I will leave a link in the description box. I did purchase them at candlescience.com. So I'll leave a link to where I got them. If you're interested in purchasing those, you can head on over to Candle Science. This wax comes in like real fine pastilles, very small little beads. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So in this case, I'm going to be weighing out 1.75 pounds. 1.75 pounds of Pillar of Bliss wax. I will also leave the link to where I got this wax. Okay, that is 1 pound, 1.75 pounds of Pillar of Bliss wax. And then we're just gonna take this wax over to the stove and we'll get it melted down. So in this case, they want us to melt the wax to a temperature of 195 degrees. That's what the manufacturer recommends to get this wax fully melted down and all the way incorporated. So you can put this on a double boiler because we're only using less than 2 pounds here. I'm going to put it over low direct heat, and I'm just going to go ahead and babysit the wax. Okay, so the wax is melted down to 195 degrees, and we're going to be adding in some yellow candle dye. I did get this from Sierra Candles. I'll go ahead and put all the links. We're only at 1.75 pounds of wax, so I'm only going to add in, 4 drops. That's all you need. That's going to make a nice bright yellow color, and I'm going to give it a good stir. Now, the manufacturer on the wax does say to pour this wax at 175 degrees. And right now I'm sitting at 185 degrees, which is the recommended temperature to add in the fragrance. But I'm actually going to wait on this fragrance because what I'm using is lemon curd fragrance oil by Rustic Essentials. And right here on the bottle, it says that its flash point is 145 degrees. So that being said, if we add the fragrance oil to the wax at 185 degrees. It's gonna burn off a lot of those top citrus notes. The lemon curd fragrance smells so good. It smells citrusy and it's got bakery notes to it. It almost just smells like a lemon cake, but it's got definitely, it's a little more tart than a lemon cake. But that's what it kind of reminds me of, like lemon poppy seed. So we're gonna wait for this wax to come down to the flash point or close to the flash point of this fragrance oil, so that we can make sure the fragrance and the oil, the fragrance and the wax combine thoroughly, and that the top notes of that citrus smell are not burning right off the top. So I'll bring you right back when we're ready to add the fragrance. Okay, my wax has reached right around 150, 149 degrees. And so we're gonna go ahead and add the fragrance oil in now. This is also where I stray from the manufacturer's directions. So they, in the description on the website, it says to add 1 ounce of fragrance per 1 pound of wax. I always add, for my wax tarts, not for my candles, for my wax tarts, with this particular wax, I always add in my fragrance oil at 20%. So for my 1.75 pounds of wax here, I'm adding in 5.6 ounces of the lemon curd fragrance oil. And we're just going to give it a good stir. We have to stir for about 1 minute, going in both directions to make sure that wax gets fully combined with the fragrance oil. It smells super good. Okay, I'm going to continue stirring. I'll bring you back when we're ready to pour. Okay, we're ready to pour. The wax is sitting at around 126 degrees and it's getting cooled off. This wax has a higher melt point, so it will solidify a little bit quicker than your plain soy waxes. So we're just going to go ahead and pour directly into those little clam shells. You can pour these in hotter. You can pour them in at 175 if you're working with a wax that takes fragrance oil hotter. Okay, so we're going to stop right there, and then I'm going to take you back over to the stove to show you what I'm doing to create some decoration for the top of these. So I'll bring you over there in just a second. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to create the topping, and I am using the same little glass beaker that had the fragrance oil in it, and I've just popped a bit of the Pillar of Bliss wax into the beaker, and I am going to do this over double boiler. It's such a small amount of wax, and if I need to keep it warmer while the other wax is setting up, if I need to keep it sitting in the warm water, this is just a good way to do it. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Okay, so these little lemon curd tarts are almost all the way set up. You can see the inside is darker because it's still curing, but there is a nice layer. This is a perfect time to add on the top. This is all melted down. This is what I'm going to do for the top. I've tested a little piece right here. As you can see, it's going to cure white. I haven't added any color or fragrance to this. And what I'm going to do is just drizzle it over the top, and then I'm going to add some cute little cake sprinkles right into the white portion. So let's just try it with one to see how that turns out, because this wax does set up rather quickly, and I want the little sprinkles to stick. There we go. Super cute. Now it's okay. These will dissolve in your wax burner. You don't have to worry that you're not going to be putting flame to it or anything like that. And you don't have to worry about a wick getting clogged up, because these are just going to go right into the wax melter, and then they are going to dissolve with the wax because it's just sugar. The topping is sitting at about 120 degrees, 128 last I checked. So you want to make sure it stays a little warm enough that you can get your sprinkles in, but not setting up so quickly that they don't stick. Okay, there you have it. That's how you make a lemon curd wax tarts. And I will bring you close in when they're all the way set up so you can see how that yellow stays and how that white pops off the top of there. All right, everybody, here's what they look like, all set up. And I'm gonna go ahead and let them cure for 3 days before I put them in my wax melter. And I'll show you what that looks like to take it out of the package and put it in the wax melter. Stay tuned. All right, everybody, here are the little wax tarts all cured in the clamshell containers. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I pop them out and melt them down in the little wax warmer. So there they are, and you just take the whole thing out. Just kind of twist your container, and then they should pop right out. There you go. So all I'm gonna do is break off 2 little chunks of this wax. There we go. And I'm gonna put the rest aside. Then we're gonna bring the little wax burner over. And we're gonna go ahead and melt it down.